what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Panel B podcast. As always, to my left, Julian Edlow, Steve Buchanan.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm Alex Shankowski. We are here to talk. Well, we're going to talk a lot of basketball. Obviously, the NBA draft coming up. A lot of news as well. Trades, opting out, opting in. Where's Harrison Barnes going to play next year? All of the exciting stuff we're going to get to. But first, it's a monumental day, guys. I'm not sure if you know it or not. The Washington Nationals might play a baseball game today.
That's impressive.
They might even play two.
Wow. Well, it doesn't look good.
Well, the weather, there might be a raindrop. They might have to cancel again, but we'll see. Also, we'll have to see if Max Scherzer is going to be playing for the Nationals tonight. Highest priced pitcher on DK tonight. He is still the scheduled pitcher. However, if you haven't seen the clip yet, I suggest you go look for it. The most nonchalant batting practice bunt attempt just gone horribly wrong.
You know what that reminded me of? When I see my kids doing something and I say, stop it, you're going to get hurt. No, Dad, I'm not. 2 seconds later, he comes in with the crimson mask. He's been busted open because he kept doing it. He was doing the most nonchalant bunt. Like, it's just like I get it. You don't want to practice it. But look what happened. Now you break your nose.
Well, and I love that it's Max Scherzer because, there was some discussion where they're like, come on, practice bunting. And he went on a rant, like just foul-mouthed rant. And he's like, fine, you want to see me bunt? I'll bunt. And then just right in the face.
I mean, my only takeaway here is that a guy with two different colored eyes and a broken nose is going to look terrifying. He is going to, if he's on the mound with that broken nose anytime in the next few days, he's going to look absolutely terrifying. That's about all I have.
They can't run him out there tonight, right? Like, I'm just trying to think of this logically. They can't run him out tonight because how do you throw with a broken nose? Like, how do you concentrate? Like, how do you... Your nose is broken. Because when you break your nose, don't you usually get black eyes, too, on top of it?
Well, yeah.
That's why I'm saying he's going to look so terrifying.
Right. So, I don't know. This seems like it would be a problem.
If he wants to be out there, he'll find a way to get out there. It'll just be interesting to see from an ownership percentage.
So, stack against Scherzer tonight?
Potentially, we'll see. Anyways, though, enough about the MLB because, like I mentioned, NBA is... top of mind right now. We got the draft coming tomorrow. Let's hit, though, a little bit on the news that's come out in the past, certainly in the past couple hours, past couple days, starting with the Boston Celtics and Al Horford. When the decision or the report came out that he was opting out of his player deal, I think the consensus immediately was, that doesn't necessarily mean he won't be on the Celtics. They might be reworking something, something longer term. That did not last very long.
No, it didn't.
Became pretty clear, at least at the moment, seems clear that he's headed elsewhere on a longer term deal. Julian, as our resident Celtics expert, your take.
So I didn't think the same thing, I guess, when Al Horford opted out at his age of a guaranteed $30 million. Because he also, if he played the 1 year out in Boston, you make another $30 million, which is more than you're going to make annually in whatever new contract you get, and you become a much bigger free agent next year when there's not quite the hyped up class that we have this year. So I thought it was a red flag right away, and then it didn't take too long for that to turn into the real deal. And now other reports are indicating that by the way that Horford's communicating with the Celtics, he already kind of has in mind where he wants to go.
No tampering in the NBA whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. But I can't blame Al Horford. Why would you want to stick around with that team that did go to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals and lost to LeBron? But the East is just so much better. You've got the Bucks with an MVP in Giannis growing. I'm not going to make any Bucks jokes, Bucks. You've got the 76ers, who now looking back gave Toronto its toughest test of anyone in the postseason. Maybe they're a little bit better than we give them credit for, even if they lose Tobias Harris. It sounds like they're probably not going to lose Jimmy Butler, but we know how quick things can change in the NBA. And then Kawhi needs to make his decision. Probably Toronto or the LA Clippers, but if he stays, I mean, the East is pretty good, so it makes sense for Al Horford. And if I'm Horford, I'm thinking if Durant wants to leave Golden State, I want to take that spot. And it works for Golden State because he's the perfect professional. He's not going to get in the way of anything. He can do it all. He gives them a type of rim protection, big guy that just Draymond Green's been trying to play almost above his size at times, and he can stretch the floor and hit the three. And Golden State was going to have a really down regular season, I guess, because they'll, re-sign a Klay Thompson who may not even play in a regular season game and try to make that up with a bunch of minimum salary guys. Horford could help balance them through the regular season. You get Klay Thompson back for that postseason run since that was just a torn ACL, and then maybe the Warriors are back all of a sudden when everybody's counting them out. So I think there's a lot of good landing spots for Al Horford on teams that can win championships, and the Celtics right now are not contenders. That plan just spiraled out of control. A lot of it's Kyrie Irving's fault, and here we are.
Well, I mean, blame who you might want to blame here, but if Kyrie is gone, is this almost a blessing in disguise, though, for the Celtics, given that, look, now you don't have to commit money to a guy like Horford who maybe, wasn't going to be the centerpiece on a team anyways, given that he's always just been a good secondary guy, kind of a glue guy, and not a superstar.
I mean, now you kind of have to look like, it has to almost be a rebuilding year, at least for now. They have all this cap space, but where are you going to spend it? It doesn't feel like there's a direction that they're a solidified direction of where they're going now. I mean, a couple of years ago, the Celtics looked primed to be in an immaculate position for years to come. And now it's kind of like they don't even know what happened. Like, it just kind of hit them so fast that they don't even know what to do at this point. Davis was kind of the thought for a while. That didn't pan out. Irving wasn't going to be the guy they were going to be banking on, but now with the loss of Horford, it's just such a different looking team. And it makes me wonder too, with how they were not willing to give up Tatum supposedly for the Davis deal, as if they had some sort of idea about Horford leaving ahead of time, and if that was part of the idea that they wouldn't give up so much youth because they're going to be in this position.
Well, I think if you're going to get Anthony Davis, you're going to get Anthony Davis, and Al Horford has nothing to do with it. Kyrie Irving does have something to do with it, and as soon as he was out, I'm fine if I'm the Celtics with Horford leaving as well. At his age and at that money, you just rebuilt. You got all these, this heralded rebuild, and the Celtics were going to run the East for 5 years. And now you're in the same boat. You got to rebuild again. So one of the first things you want to do if you're rebuilding is probably, shed an aging veteran at $30 million. That's fine. You would love to ditch Gordon Hayward too if you could, but you can't. So who knows if that
you're not
contract
looking to
will
stock back up. You're not looking at someone like Bradley Beal or even a trade, to get somebody else who can help right away.
I wouldn't mind somebody like Bradley Beal, but just not at the price. Like, Washington wants, Tatum, Smart in a first-rounder, or Jaylen Brown and 2 first-rounders. Like,
okay, maybe
what are we hoping?
Or maybe Kemba, somebody that you can sign.
Okay. Kemba would be fine, but I would pass because that's going to be so much money. It's basically going to be the Kyrie money in a player that's not quite Kyrie. So, what's the point?
Well, Northeast vibes. a lot of people up here love him.
Kemba can go to the Knicks. That seems perfect for him. But just really quickly, just to show how quickly the landscape in the NBA changes. Last summer, a finals matchup of the Warriors and Celtics, meaning the Celtics and Warriors to meet in the NBA Finals, was just above even odds, plus 125.
Wow,
that means that's going to happen. That's like betting on a game, which team is going to win or lose.
Close to a
And this is
pickup.
teams all the way to reach the finals. Now we have Golden State on the DK Sportsbook, plus 800 to win it all. The Boston Celtics, plus 2,500 to win it all.
Ouch.
Just a year later. That's crazy how much that changed.
Well, we love it, obviously. And it's a great segue because another market that DK Sportsbook just came out with in regards to next NBA season are the MVP odds. 2020 MVP odds. Giannis is the favorite to repeat, plus 325. LeBron at plus 500.
Well,
Kawhi.
we don't know that he's won it yet.
What's that?
Giannis.
Oh, sorry. I guess you are correct in that. Assumed to be defending his title.
But
there.
yeah, plus 325 to repeat because he's going to win it.
LeBron plus 500, Kawhi plus 600. Don't even know where he's playing yet. We do know where Anthony Davis is playing, we think, at plus 750. So we haven't touched yet on Anthony Davis, LeBron, and the Lakers. Is it interesting to see LeBron at plus 500 and Anthony Davis at plus 750 there? Does that shock you at all that LeBron's actually closer odds, given that he's probably out of the two that would be maybe managed a little bit more?
Well, we're already seeing some movement because LeBron's already moved to plus 450. Anthony Davis has moved to plus 800. So we already have some type of movement.
Well, so there you go.
On that
I'm wrong.
Already.
You can tell me I'm wrong. It's fine.
On it already. But
And they also, just real quick before you keep going, to add to the discussion, you can almost parlay. There's a Lakers special. Will Anthony Davis or LeBron James win the MVP? Yes, plus 260. No, minus 455. So you can also take them as a combo.
what do you think of that?
Or do they cancel each other out? I mean, we go through it with the Heisman every year, seemingly every year, where one player's going to cancel out another if they're on the same team.
Yeah, I don't think the MVP will be on the Lakers, and I'm also not willing to lay minus 455 on the no, so I'm just leaving that one alone. I just thought it was nobody else offers that bet, just DK Sportsbook, so I thought it's a cool thing to at least add to the conversation.
Yeah, and also worth mentioning, Harden at plus 750 and Steph Curry plus 1100, which I think is really interesting. Julian's pointing at me, which means he agrees.
I just think buying everything on Curry's stock is worthwhile for next season right now. Because even if we know Draymond will be there, but what does he like to do? Rebound, handle the ball, dish to Curry for threes. If they add somebody who I'm thinking is maybe Al Horford's always a guy that likes to help Kyrie Irving and Isaiah Thomas get involved in the past. No matter who else they go out and get, it's not going to be a guy that's going to take away from that much of Curry's workload. What we do know is that if Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson even re-sign, Durant's definitely out the full regular season. Klay Thompson would maybe be making his season debut at the All-Star break, like at the earliest, probably March or April. Curry's going to have a huge offensive season, and the only reason I don't love it is because he's won two before, and I think that sometimes that means you have to be even better to get another one when you have those. Like if James Harden or Kawhi Leonard is equally as good as Steph, the award would presumably go to them. But I just love the spot for everything, for fantasy, for futures, everything on Curry next season I like a lot.
Well, especially with the odds how they're set. It feels like he makes the most sense out of everybody, right? Because like LeBron,
plus 1,000, yeah.
Like looking at LeBron James at plus 450. I mean, do you really feel great about? I mean, granted, 4-1 odds, 4.5 odds is fine, but with Anthony Davis in the mix now, do you really feel that great about it? Like Curry at plus 1,000 feels like really, really good value at this point.
I would rather, if I'm going to go with the Laker, I would rather bet Anthony Davis at plus 800 than LeBron at plus 450.
Right.
Just because this seems like Anthony Davis's first year on the real stage.
He's going to have to prove
himself. Fully unleash him and prove himself. Yeah. LeBron's completely proven. So Davis is the guy that should have the bigger statistical season.
Yeah, LeBron shouldn't be taking on an MVP workload this season.
No.
Even if Anthony Davis, gets hurt and does his Anthony Davis locker room jaunt, it's all about the postseason for that team. So unless they're really struggling again to get in the postseason, that's a whole nother issue.
If I'm going to look at one other long shot here, I don't mind Joel Embiid at plus 1,700.
Is this thinking
if they
if Butler's
lose
gone?
One of those, Butler or Harris, most likely, and Embiid's still going to be the go-to guy there. What if Kawhi goes to the West? What if the Sixers overtake the Bucks in the East? Not crazy. The Bucks probably have the better overall team, but to get plus 1,700 on Embiid versus plus 325 on Giannis, that feels like decent value.
Could you have fun going Kawhi 600 though? Obviously, he's done it in the NBA Finals twice as far as MVP, but on it, not knowing where he's going, wherever he's going to be the featured piece though, and going to not necessarily need his load managed as much as he has in the past.
I mean, for the odds you're getting 6-1, it's definitely not terrible. But when you look at like Julian was kind of saying here, some of the value you're getting on Steph Curry, where what his role is going to be, what he's going to bring. Obviously the odds are going to change once Kawhi lands somewhere. So if you feel strongly about it, or if you feel like he's going to land in that spot that's going to let him be in the spotlight like that, then I wouldn't mind taking it now, because you could end up seeing a lot lower once he signs somewhere. But I think Curry makes a lot of sense, and like Julian said, Embiid too at 1,700, you have to really like those odds there.
Real quick, Where does Kyrie play next year?
Brooklyn. Done.
It has to be Brooklyn. That's why he signed with Rock Nation. Is that what it was? Rock Nation?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lakers. Come on. Here for the narrative.
They're not going to have the money.
They got to
for
figure
him.
out the salary cap situation.
I was gonna say, is
They have
that
to
why
figure out
they're
the salary
scrambling?
cap, and then they're even if they, because Kyrie's not going to take a discount. He's not going to.
Sure.
Like LeBron and AD there, he's not going to be like, oh, I'll come along to play with LeBron again and give him a discount. And they're going to need a discount to, like, fill out a roster. The Lakers are looking to, like, load up on second-round picks so that if they get another max guy, they're going to play, like, 11 second-round picks around their 3 max players. That's not going to work, but it looks like they're trying to figure that out.
Along with all of us. It's fun to watch. All right, moving to the draft tomorrow night. DraftKings Sportsbook, based on the betting favorites and the bets that they have received so far, released a top 5 NBA mock draft. Our own Julian Edlow on the DK Playbook also wrote a mock draft, which you can find. He doesn't just go to the top 5. Come on, he does. He goes beyond.
I could go all 60 if you want me to, but shrug Hollywood here cut me off.
As he has wanted to do, because he wants to save the 60 for himself. But let's run through these top 5 versus on DraftKings Sportsbook, and then we can, Julian can say why that's wrong and why his mock is better. Number 1, Zion Williamson. I'm going to guess we're running equal there. Number 2, Ja Morant, still probably pretty equal. 3, RJ Barrett. 4, Darius Garland. 5, DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, so things are starting to get a little interesting at 3. On the DK Sportsbook, I think RJ Barrett was around minus 2,000 to be the number 3 pick to the Knicks. And now he's minus 560 because Darius Garland, who's plus 350 to be the 3rd pick, I think he's working out maybe today with the Knicks. And they're showing a little interest in him. And Garland's kind of a mystery guy because he only played 5 games as a freshman at Vanderbilt last season. That said, I like him a lot. He has really deep range. He has good handle. Like he's 6'5", so he can play both guard positions. He fits the modern NBA. But this is just smoke. This gives you better odds on Barrett at number 3 if you're comfortable laying minus 560, which is a big number.
No.
But Barrett's got like that star potential. He's so good getting to the rim, putting his head down. His shot looks good. It's not broken. He doesn't have good percentages, but when you get to the NBA, you shoot 2,000 shots a day and get that together. Like, I just don't think the Knicks are in a position to gamble and pass on a potential star in Barrett, especially with the free agency that they have coming up, where now with the Durant situation, like they might come out of this empty-handed, or with something like Kemba Walker. I don't know if they can gamble there.
Well, the other thing is, too, is that now the big thing seems to be that Garland at 4 could end up being a target for the Celtics, looking to trade up and take that number 4 spot.
A lot of Atlanta is also rumored to want to trade up to 4 or 5.
Well, they
Boston,
have 8 and 10, correct?
They have 8, 10, and 17.
Yeah.
So Atlanta has a lot going on there to scatter around this board.
But obviously, with how things have panned out for the Celtics, not in their favor, it would make a lot of sense for them to go up in this draft, because really, when it comes down to it, this is what, a 3-player draft after for top 3, and then it's just kind of a crapshoot after that.
It's a 1-player draft in Zion with 2 other potential all-stars to follow in Morant and Barrett. But I think that Garland is the guy that potentially makes it a 4-player draft, but you can't be sure yet just because you've seen so little of him.
Whereas Hunter's almost the exact opposite, right? Like,
exactly.
Like any player come out of Virginia, well-seasoned, big fundamental. And
Hunter's really well-polished. He would make sense for, if there was a team that won a high pick out of a trade or something, he would be a really good fit on like a playoff team. He's going to be a solid, polished player. He reminds me a lot of like Rudy Gay coming out of UConn, who was really good at the beginning of his career in Memphis, but probably not going to be an all-star.
But this number 4 pick, I think, brings a lot of kind of the excitement to this draft, because we kind of know how it's going to go 1 through 3. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. But now, this is a pick that originally we didn't think was going to go to the Lakers, went to the Lakers. Now it's in the hands of the Pelicans thanks to this Anthony Davis trade. And now kind of this is the highly sought after pick now, because, the Pelicans can do away with this and kind of stockpile even more now. I mean, they made out so well in this Anthony Davis trade. And really, they own the Lakers draft for the next 7 years. I forget, somebody said that from ESPN, but
they're never gonna. That's true, but like they're probably never going to wind up swapping picks.
Sure.
But I guess you never know. Anthony Davis could walk next year. LeBron's getting old.
Yep.
It's worth having the swaps in there.
But, there's going to be a lot of buzz surrounding Garland now for the next, 24, 48 hours where he's going to end up landing. And if the Celtics end up moving up, if the Hawks end up moving up. But I think this is kind of the pick to watch now because, like I said, 1 through 3, we pretty much know where everyone's going at this point.
Yeah, and looking how the Pelicans are constructed, assuming Zion obviously being the number 1 pick in there in day 1, figure out if you're bringing Randall back or not, see if the numbers work there. But then after that, like, what are they better off doing? Do they shoot for the guy who's a little bit more unknown, or do they go with Hunter, who has more polish? And look, like, this team, could build something here really special. Do you want to risk it on going with a guy who could bust versus a guy who's going to be a little bit more polished?
So in my most recent mock, I went with Jarrett Culver at number 4,
Sure.
who is probably a more sure thing. And also with Lonzo Ball being there, is Garland as good of a fit? Both are ball-dominant guys. Garland's obviously a much better shooter. Maybe they could coexist, but Culver's probably the guy that fits in between Ball and Ingram at that 2-guard position. So that's why I put him there in my mock draft. He's also more polished, ready to play, like Zion should be. But if this pick gets... I could see New Orleans risking it on Garland, but if this pick gets moved, which sounds to be kind of like a pick'em in its own right, if you were to put odds on the 4th pick being traded, I think that would be a coin flip right about now. And any team that would be moving up, Atlanta, even though they have Trae Young, Garland's 6'5", he can play next to him. Boston all of a sudden has a hole at point guard, even though they didn't think they would.
Will not be filled by Terry Rozier?
At this point, if I'm the Celtics, I'm definitely looking at bringing back Terry Rozier. He was successful in that starting role. But other teams will come out that are going to be interested in this 4th pick, maybe even after the Knicks take Barrett, so that other team is completely sure that Garland is the player that's going to be there at 4. Garland was even odds yesterday on the DK Sportsbook to be the 4th pick.
Yep.
He's now minus 121, so it looks like he's gotten some money coming in on him there going 4th, which also speaks to the Barrett at 3 situation being kind of a diversion with him going from minus 2,000 to minus 560, that he's still minus 560. Like, that means he's going to be the guy there.
And the 4th pick overall, the odds are really close. Kind of across the board here. Garland, you said is minus 121. Culver's plus 200. Hunter's 350. Barrett's 400. So, I mean, if you're looking to lay some money down, you feel strongly which way. This is probably some of the best odds you're getting of the picks that we offer, that you can bet on here between 1st and 4th.
And so much of that is you just don't know what team, right?
Right.
You don't know who's actually making the pick.
I mean, the other thing is, if you want to, just from a betting standpoint, and I wouldn't advise this because I don't think it's going to happen, but if you think it's going to happen, if you think Darius Garland is going to be the 3rd pick to the Knicks, and you take that at plus 350, you can also make a bunch of money at taking RJ Barrett at plus 400 at number 4, because if he slides to 4, there is no way that he continues to slide. So if Garland goes 3, Barrett goes 4, and you can take both of those at really nice numbers.
So you got to plan on the Knicks being the Knicks. Which, okay, the Knicks are the Knicks.
You could bet on the Knicks blowing this draft and really hit at a high number on 2 picks.
RJ Barrett,
and
pride of Canada.
Parlay them. You can parlay it. See? You can do it.
Not applicable, Bucks.
Hold on. Oh, that's crap.
Yeah, riveting. All right, riveting stuff,
Learn how
guys.
gambling works, bro.
One more market that I want to touch on as far as the draft is concerned. It's actually not necessarily about the draft itself, but once 2 of these guys start playing, and that is to score more points this season head-to-head. Look, Zion over RJ Barrett and Morant heavily, but Barrett versus Morant I think is interesting because Barrett is minus 167, Morant plus 140, and I think, obviously this is a lot to do with Morant likely going to Memphis, a team that just usually plays at a pretty slow pace. But is that interesting given that he is going to be their option in Memphis?
It is interesting because you say they play at a slow pace. They're going to have to change. If you're drafting Ja Morant.
If you're drafting Ja Morant,
and
you don't have
moving
Gasol
on from Mike Conley,
Conley's gone,
you are changing your style. Because Morant is shot out of a cannon when he gets the ball, and I don't think he's going to just become this grit and grind Mike Conley in the NBA. I think
he's
want
gonna
him.
See Tony Allen's number up in the rafters.
Yeah, that'll
Grind
motivate him. You're drafting Ja Morant to be Ja Morant. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very mobile, versatile, big guy. So grit and grind is dead. We're assuming Ja Morant's going here. You have Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson is your future. So I like all these Morant props. Points per game, Ja Morant plus 210 over Zion, plus 140 over RJ Barrett.
Because Zion's
like
not going
to.
Zion won't be the number one option, at least to start, right?
Right. So he can score. He gets that reputation of this like super utility guy, but he was still scoring at the same pace as Barrett at Duke. Putbacks, transition, like he finds ways to get it done. But you have to think with other vets around him, Ball, Ingram, Drew Holiday is still there for now unless they turn him into something else. Like there's going to be other scorers there. Barrett, assuming he goes to the Knicks, they might be in a tankathon situation again and let Barrett go, but you think the Knicks are going to spend some of that money somewhere, and if like a Kemba is there, that's really going to limit Barrett's scoring. So I like a lot of these Ja Morant scoring props here.
A lot less pressure, too, going to Memphis.
True.
Like,
Nobody's watching Memphis.
Yeah,
everybody's going to be watching New Orleans and New York.
You build your brand. #brand. All right, let's talk baseball tonight because we actually do have some breaking news here from John Heyman.
Oh.
Max Scherzer plans on pitching tonight, despite
Yes.
breaking his nose.
I can't wait to see his face.
Gloriously failed bunt
kidding
attempt. Yes, the Getty Warriors will be streaming with great photos. How are we looking at this slate? Either if you're talking Scherzer and upper tier pitching or elsewhere that you're looking. Because remember also that is the Washington Nationals. There could be a drop of rain. That game's canceled anyways. So,
Right.
What are you looking at? 10 games tonight.
I mean, you can't play Scherzer. I mean, he's 12,000 tonight. Like, this is a dude with a broken freaking nose. Like, there's no way that you can. I mean, Lucas Giolito's going tonight against the Cubs. He's $700 less. I mean, just ride with him. I mean, the dude is pitching out of his mind.
Gets an NL park too.
Right now. Gets an NL park. I mean, there's just so much riding on Scherzer that it's just not worth the risk. You know, even in tournaments, like I get it. Like 12,000 for Scherzer, you know, the consensus on him is not going to be high, but man, I can't imagine myself taking Scherzer at 12,000. Be like, yep, feel great about this one.
I want to root for that guy tonight, though. I want him in my lineup.
It's a good story. That's fine, but you know, I'm not going to put my money on it.
It's just hilarious.
Okay.
I'm just picturing the camera zoomed in on
looks like a raccoon.
Two black eyes with two different color eyes with a big puffy swelly face, maybe a little bit of blood dripping out of his nose, like wheezing and huffing and puffing.
He's gonna have the Kleenex. He's gonna have the tissue stuffed
his
up
nose
his nose.
stuffed, both nostrils stuffed, huffing and puffing, wheezing a little bit. It's gonna be awesome. So
amazing.
If you're making, I mean, Giolito is awesome, and he was an underdog against the Yankees in his last start and killed them. He's plus 130 tonight on the road against the Cubs. If you're looking at betting that game, anytime Giolito is a great bet anyway. Anytime he's an underdog, it's just like,
yeah,
click that. But if I'm making multiple GPP lineups, I have to have one where I'm going with Scherzer over Giolito and letting it ride because, I mean, for one, just ownership-wise, you're going to have a huge advantage there. And then, two, it's just going to be awesome.
What a story. What a story.
Yeah, and as for bats, I think, you know, the Dodgers get to face Drew Pomeranz. I think that's all you need to know there.
Well, and then the Braves get Steven Matz tonight on the road, which is always a good thing.
He hasn't been bad.
He hasn't been bad at home.
Mm-hmm.
He's been bad on the road. When you look at his home road splits, it's quite a large difference there. And, you know, the Braves got shut down last night by DeGrom, you know, pretty much expected. DeGrom's been pitching out of his mind once again. But Matt's on the road.
It wasn't expected in the put up your bucks section when you gave us, who was it, Ozzie Albies?
Yeah, I gave it to him.
Batting 8th for 4,500
yeah, I don't care.
For whatever.
Again, I took him. Who cares? I don't care. You know
Sorry,
what?
go on.
It was a good leverage play because he was at 2% ownership. If he did anything, I was sitting pretty.
But
That's
he
how
did
you
nothing.
I'm having
Okay.
flashes of that.
Okay, but sometimes that happens, Julian. Like I don't
Not to
predict the
me.
future. I don't predict the future. I just hope that Albies goes out there, has a decent game, and I'll get him at 2% ownership. Why can't you do things like that? If we did a hidden jewel segment, are you going to make a good call like that, or are you going to make all these coward calls? Coward calls. Right. See, exactly. You have nothing to say. Anyways,
The hidden
Steven Matz
jewels
tonight.
are supposed to be people that nobody's looking for.
Yeah,
Supposed to be
and the
hidden.
put up your bukes is something that people look at like, oh, maybe, I wasn't considering it. Maybe that could end up being a good play today. See, if you knew what the segment is about, you'd
Everybody
understand.
was considering the other two plays in your segment, but maybe not everybody watched that, so we'll move on.
Now everybody watches. It's the highest rated segment on the show. That's why the sweat is what it is today. Anyways, talking about the Braves here going against Steven Matz. I mean, the Braves have been one of the best hitting clubs aside from last night, and they've been absolutely killer against lefties. Like, when you look at their numbers at home against lefties, they have like over a 236 isolated power against lefties at home. And like I said, Matz on the road has just not been a good spot for him. 10 of his 13 home runs allowed.
All right, stop talking about Steven Matz because you can't just gloss over what we just went through there, because that really reminded me of that Derek Anderson clip where he's just like was caught laughing when they were getting blown out. I think he was on the Cardinals. And he's like, "That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine." Like I appreciate the confidence. I think you got to have it in this industry. And hey, maybe tonight's the night for Olazi.
For the record, if Albies went off, everybody would be thanking me. Right?
I mean,
that is the life.
He's projected to bat 7th at $5,000 on this slate.
Everybody's over 5,000
That
these
seems-
days.
I know. What's the big
It's
deal?
like every night, it seems like no matter how big the slate is, it's over 20 people are over.
Oh, it's
5,000.
crazy. Like the pricing is getting really, really tight
All right,
now.
we're gonna close on some more breaking news
Oh my
because
gosh.
that's all we do on the Panel B podcast is break news. That's what the B stands for. Break news.
We finally figured it out.
Should note, of course, we're not actually breaking the news. We're reading a tweet from someone who broke the news, but
okay.
semantics. Adrian Wojnarowski saying Chris Middleton is declining his $13 million player option, will become an unrestricted free agent. $13 million. When you see Harrison Barnes walk away from twice that amount,
That was dumb.
that was dumb. This is not dumb though. For
No,
Chris Middleton.
this was
Again,
was going to happen
and could re-sign with the Bucks.
for sure. No, but this was obviously going to happen. $13 million for a guy that made the All-Star game, was a really strong contributor to the number 1 seed in the East. So this was totally expected. The Bucks will have to carve out some room for him.
Is he the best
because-
wing player on the market then now since Durant and Clay are hurt?
That's a really good question. Well, I mean, no, Jimmy Butler, I would say, but he's become more valuable because he's somebody that you're going to get production from this season when the 2 best wing players now went down. So he's definitely going to command some more interest. And it's more difficult for the Bucks to re-sign him because of the money they gave Eric Bledsoe. So they're only going to be able to retain Brogdon or Middleton. Obviously, you'd probably choose Middleton there and let Brogdon try and find a new home. But that's not a sure thing. Kawhi could go to the Clippers and maybe look for someone like Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler stays in Philly, so then you pivot to a guy like Middleton to be the second scorer there. Middleton's going to get a lot of interest, and the Bucks are going to have to lose some of that depth that helped them so much this past season if they want to bring him back.
Bukes Harrison Barnes declined his $25.1 million player
really
option, despite not probably even going to be a starter on his team that was going to have to pay him $25 million. Your thoughts on this situation here?
I mean, it's kind of like not playing the Braves tonight against Steven Matz. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's right there in front of you.
Always putting up his.
I don't
views.
see many.
Never
I don't
not
see,
putting
I
up
don't
his
see the
views.
connection there.
It's a sure thing. You had $25 million and just nope.
It's called a metaphor, Julian.
It was a bad one. Just like Ozzy Albies was a bad buck.
Again, I don't even want to get into it because nobody wants to hear about it. But
Bad Bucks, good Bucks. We got Chris Middleton here, maybe back on the Bucks. Who knows? We'll have to check back later on. Any parting thoughts, fellas?
I just can't wait to watch Scherzer tonight. That is must-watch TV.
Yeah, that and that baseball has to stop doing the extra innings. I was just watching the Red
Oh my
Sox last
gosh.
night. It went to extra innings. I figured I would watch some of it. Fell asleep in the top of the 10th, woke up like 5 times with the game still going on, woke up with the Red Sox scoring in the 13th inning, figured they'd win in 13, wake up, the Twins win in 17. It's one of 162. The NFL calls ties with 16 games in the regular season, and you're going to draw out 17 freaking innings in Minnesota in the middle of June. Figure it out. Ties, home run derbies, shootouts like the NHL. Just get it done within 5 minutes after the 9th inning, 5-10 minutes, get it done.
The hypocrisy is hilarious given that they'll call a game after between 5 to 8 innings if there's enough rain. They'll just,
Sure.
Never mind, we won't finish this. It's fine. Just whoever was winning. It's the Michael Scott approach there. Just whoever was winning at the time of the rain, it's good. And
That just came to my mind randomly. I couldn't believe how many times I woke up and
we've
just
had,
the Red Sox team
and we've
was
had
still
the
on.
minors testing now for a while with putting a player on second
I love
to at
that
least
idea.
force some action.
I love that
Anything.
idea.
Put
That
a man
makes
on
so
third.
much sense. But that makes so much sense. Like,
But that was the pushback you saw from the NHL with the 3-on-3. At least you saw from the goalies. Like, these are going to count against our stats, and it's not true hockey. You know, now you got to put up with, well, how did that guy get on second base? Do you have to record anything? But I'm with you in that who cares? You know, hopefully he's a guy in my DFS lineup and he'll get an extra run. But
then don't even make it like that. Pick your hitter. You get one underhanded pitch. If it's a home run, you win. If it's not, you lose.
I would
Anything.
I would just love for DFS analysis that, if this game gets to extras, this is the guy they usually put on second base.
Right.
So he's in a good spot to score at least an extra
Well, it's
run
kind of
here
like the
today.
bullpen, right? Like you're trying to anticipate, ahead of time.
Right.
Maybe he'll swipe third. Maybe he'll score that run. No, this guy's going to get you that sack fly.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I'm banking on.
Big points.
That's what
Bonus points for the sack fly.
Put up your bukes. That can be what tilts it in your favor.
It might be. Yep. Here we go.
All right, we probably got to wrap up now. I think we've exhausted our thoughts on how to change the MLB, at least the extra innings conundrum. So sounds good. We'll be back at this next Wednesday as well. Of course, one thing you have to remember is that the odds lines are subject to change. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and would like help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Julian Edlow, Steve Buchanan, Shannon. I'm Alex Jankowski. We'll see you guys next time.